A poetic postcard today from Dove Cottage in Grasmere, the home of William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth was already a successful poet when he moved here to Dove Cottage. Meet George Kirkby, who'll tell us all about him. Well, this is a warm, cosy scene, isn't it? This is Dove Cottage, and this is where a chap called William Wordsworth lived and did his thing. Is that right, George?
This is where he produced his greatest work, really, in Dove Cottage, for 8.5 years, but with his sister and then his wife and his sister-in-law and 3 children. And eventually the house became too crowded, but this was where he wrote the bulk of his great work, and Dorothy kept her journal. So, poetically speaking, you could say this is the most important house in Wordsworth's life, although he lived for 80 years.
Where did he come from originally?
Well, just 26 miles north, Cockermouth, and went to school just 8 miles away. So when he came back here at the age of 29, he was coming home to his native mountains. He said he was retiring to be a poet.
Really?
29, not bad.
Good. No, I retired at 29. Mind you, I wouldn't have met you, George.
I've forgotten what it was like to be 29.
There's a chap up here who looks like a vicar to me. I don't know
Yeah,
if
he was originally.
Oh, was he?
He was Queen Victoria's private chaplain, the Reverend Stopford Brooke, and he was the man who founded the Wordsworth Trust and started it all. And that's him on opening day in 1891. We've been open now for 106 years, you see. And that's him sat at the back door in the garden doing his drawings of the garden. And he was a remarkable man in many ways. He left Queen Victoria to become a Unitarian, which must have been quite a courageous thing to do in its own right, I should think.
Yeah. And what made him leave this particular place to the nation, so
Well,
to speak?
he believed this was part of Wordsworth's great decade, as they call it, where he wrote the great poetry, and he found Dove Cottage being used as a lodging house. And this room we stood in was a little shop.
Was it really?
Yeah, well, you see, the Manchester Corporation were taking a pipeline through, and of course the engineers lodged and they supplied the people with the daily goods, you see, from this room.
Goodness me.
And so he decided at that point to contact the man who owned it and appeal to the nation for funds to buy it, and they got it for £680.
He was a real visionary then, wasn't he?
Oh, tremendous, yeah.
Is this a most important room in Wordsworth's life?
Well, it'd be a very busy room, the kitchen parlour. It's where they took the main meal and the ladies did their housework, and the children played when they came along when it was wet to keep them out of father's way, because he liked to work outside or upstairs, because then there was a view right over the Grasmere lake, you see, and so he could sit upstairs, and he had some sort of peace, but there would never be what we would call peace. There was never a study in Dove Cottage. I mean, you know, sometimes when the weather was really bad, Dorothy said he would work with the children playing round him. But I think he had that ability to cut off.
Detach himself.
Absolutely, yeah, I do feel that.
We've got a dog on this wall,
Oh,
George.
yes, Pepper, the famous Pepper. Pepper was a gift from Walter Scott, who bred terriers and came to see Wordsworth. Well, he visited Wordsworth. They got on very well, although he didn't like the sort of food he got at Dove Cottage. 3 hot meals a day, he said, and 2 of them were porridge. That wasn't Scott's style. But Wordsworth obviously thought a great deal of the dog, and had this portrait of him commissioned by a local artist.
Something very magisterial here, a seal.
Yes, Wordsworth's Royal Warrant. That proclaims William Wordsworth Poet Laureate. But that's when he was 73 years old. And he has well, I think it's a wonderful accolade. He's the only Poet Laureate we've ever had to write nothing while in office.
Really?
He didn't really want to be laureate because he was 73 and he didn't want to be bothered, basically. And turned it down, and the Prime Minister wrote and said he was so famous and nothing would be expected of him, and Wordsworth took him at his word. And when Queen Victoria asked for a poem, when Albert became Honorary Doctor of Literature at Cambridge, he got his son-in-law to write it. So he remained true to what he'd said at the beginning.
That looks as though he would have lounged on there to me.
For oft when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood.
Was it done on there?
Well, we don't know that, but that's the couch of that period, and it belonged to William Wordsworth. But I'll tell you that he said, you know, the lines that follow that, they flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. He always said those were the best two lines of the poem, and they were written by my wife. So they were all taking part in this great production.
The whole Wordsworth family?
Well, really, the ladies, you see, would do a lot of... Oh, there's his cuckoo clock.
Is that his cuckoo
Yeah,
clock?
he got it for a birthday present. Came from Germany, from the Black Forest. He wrote a poem about that. I mean, he was really taken with the cuckoo clock. Yeah.
He came there on time,
Yeah,
didn't he, the
spot
old
on,
cuckoo?
yes.
It would have been pretty crowded in this bedroom at times. The Wordsworths entertained many visitors, and their family was ever expanding. And that's William's very own portmanteau.
He was a great traveller and travelled light. You know, a day shirt, night shirt, change your socks, that sort of thing. And throw that on the back of a cart and walk, you see. That was his great thing, his walking. Amazing walker, William Wordsworth. And so he carried the travel light. And it's an example to us all, you see.
Yes,
Yeah.
those who travel light travel furthest or longest.
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And that's your favourite.
It's one of
here,
my
isn't it?
favourite pieces in the cottage is Wordsworth's passport. It's his French passport, and when he was 22 he fathered a daughter in France, and this was his last visit to see her 44 years later. So he was always in contact. What I love about it is this wonderful description of him. It says he was 5'9.5" English inches, aged 66, and had greying hair, a bald forehead, white eyebrows, grey eyes, a medium nose, a round chin, an oval face, and it says complexion ordinary. And then you've got his signature. And on the back you've all the wonderful visa stamps.
Right.
Tuscany, the Venetian Republic, the Papal States, the old German states. But
He did get around, didn't
oh,
he?
to William Wordsworth, travel was the cure for all ills, really.
Now that's Thomas de Quincey's daughters there. He was a great admirer of Wordsworth.
De Quincey had 7 children and 5,000 books in Dove Cottage, and it was in this period that...
This little cottage.
Yeah, he wrote the Confessions of an English Opium Eater. And we're very fortunate in here, we've got his druggist's balance for weighing out his opium, you see. And he also used the liquid form, black drop, and we've got a file of that. We've got to get a government licence to put that on show, but then he went out and bought it at the local apothecaries. There was no stigma, but De Quincey and Coleridge were both opium addicts.
What made them... Oh, well,
It started off with illness. Everyone took it, you know, toothache, headache, and it depended, but they found that they got strange dreams, etc., and tried a little more. I mean, you know, took a little more to see what happened to them. And so they were genuine addicts. I mean, Coleridge's great poem, Kubla Khan, was written under the influence in an opium dream, and he was wakened by 4 gentlemen from Porlock, and the poem was never completed.
Now this room in Dove Cottage is my own particular favourite. Now you're not seeing things. It is absolutely plastered with newspapers. You see, newspapers were so expensive because they had to be sent up from London that what they did was actually hang the newspapers on the wall as wallpaper. And this garden is as it was, George?
Yes, Wordsworth believed that nature was perfect, so the perfect garden was to enclose nature. Everything had its place, but he brought in ferns, and Dorothy dug up wild flowers and brought them in and planted them, and there must be no exotics in his garden, you see. To me, he said, the meanest flower that blows can bring thoughts that sometimes lie too deep for tears. The daisy by the shadow that it casts protects the lingering dewdrop from the sun.